Welcome to our session. Today we're delving into the intriguing differences between two iconic portrayals of Jesus' sermon, one from a mountain, the other from a plain.
I'm excited about this discussion. It's fascinating how the same figure is cast so differently by two gospel writers. Yep.
Absolutely. On the one hand, you have the mountain sermon, a majestic scene almost like Jesus is channeling a new Moses, delivering these sweeping, timeless declarations. It's a
Exactly.
grand narrative with an air of formality and abstract spirituality.
And then, on the flip side, there's the plain sermon. Here, Jesus comes down to earth, literally and figuratively, connecting directly with a people facing immediate struggles.
Right. It's like the mountain version whispers of the poor in spirit, with a symbolic, almost ethereal quality, whereas the plain version is blunt, saying simply, the poor, and even going so far as to curse the
Yep,
rich.
very direct indeed. Kind of makes you wonder, were these two sermons historical events, or are they later editorial constructions reflecting different audiences?
That's the heart of it. It's like, if you imagine these sermons as two different snapshots, each shaped and rewoven by community needs. The mountain sermon is ordered, deliberate, and extensive, stretching over several chapters.
And yet, the plain sermon is, well, short and punchy, almost like a call to action, right?
Exactly. The mountain account offers 9 blessings that speak to spirituality and moral ideals, hunger and thirst for righteousness, and that sort of thing.
I see that
It's about
contrast
the
clearly.
eternal soul rather than immediate physical circumstances.
But in Luke's version, you almost get a revolutionary vibe. Blessings for those suffering now, and curses aimed at the rich who are seen as oppressors.
Yes, it's a complete shift in tone. In essence, you have one Jesus presented as a philosopher king and another as a radical social prophet.
Right, that's a striking difference. Do you think these differences were deliberate, as in the gospel writers reshaping Jesus' identity to fit their own community's needs?
Definitely. I mean, it's like each community had its own agenda, one seeking to elevate Jesus to a universal moral teacher and the other using his voice to challenge established power structures.
But here's what troubles me. If these accounts are so different, isn't it possible that neither represents the historical Jesus fully? It pushes
that's a
us
fair
to
question.
ask, what was it that got remembered, and what got edited away?
True. It's almost as if the very idea of a Sermon on the Mount or a Sermon on the Plain is less a historical moment and more a crafted narrative. It's, like two versions of a legendary tale, edited to spark different reactions.
Yep, absolutely. The mountain imagery itself suggests divinity and authority, whereas the plain imagery emphasizes solidarity and immediacy.
Think about it. The mountain sermon is, tactile in its elegance, structured, refined. Blessed are the poor in spirit becomes almost an invitation to a type of inner transformation.
And contrasting that, the plain sermon is raw and confrontational. It talks about literal poverty, hunger, even weeping. It's this, unfiltered confrontation with societal inequalities.
Exactly. This divergence goes even further. In the mountain account, the blessings seem, tailored to reach beyond mere economic status. They're about transcending worldly conditions.
Yeah, it's more idealistic. Whereas Luke's text is, designed for an audience that was perhaps struggling with immediate injustices. There's even a sense of urgency in its curses against the rich who celebrate too easily.
Right. And that brings us to the underlying tension. Is Jesus the comforting guide or the dangerous provocateur? It's like, two illustrations of the man, each reflecting its community's social and spiritual challenges.
There's an almost dramatic irony here, isn't there? Two texts, one figure, but two very distinct messages. It's, both puzzling and enlightening.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, if the most famous sermon ever is itself a literary construction, then what does that imply about the rest of the narrative?
Quite the conundrum indeed. It reminds me a bit of a novelist rewriting a classic story to fit a modern audience. One version softens the revolutionary edge, while the other amplifies the call for societal change.
That's a great analogy. It's like, uh, the mountain version is a meticulously crafted masterpiece aimed at evoking a sense of awe, while the plain version is a blunt, perhaps even rebellious statement.
And honestly, both approaches have their appeal. But doesn't this also raise questions about authenticity? Are they two sides of the same coin? Or are they, as you said earlier, competing communities imprinting their values on Jesus' memory?
Well, I'd say it's both. There's a bit of historical memory in each, but also layers of reinterpretation. The contradictions, the differences in blessings and curses. They're like, fingerprints left by communities grappling with who Jesus should be for
Yes,
them.
I get that. And what about the fact that Matthew gives a sprawling manifesto, covering topics like anger, lust, retaliation, fasting, while Luke keeps it terse with direct commands to love your enemies and live with integrity?
That divergence is, fascinating. The mountain sermon's extended nature gives it a sort of timeless, abstract quality, as if it's meant to guide universal ethics. Meanwhile, Luke's brevity, its immediacy, seems perfectly tuned to inspire immediate social action.
That's a solid point. But here's a challenge. Do you think one version is inherently more true to the historical Jesus? Or are we, perhaps, looking for a kind of authenticity that might not have originally existed?
I definitely lean towards the idea that authenticity, as we crave it, might be a modern imposition. Instead, what we have are these narratives, shaped by memory and necessity. It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Each retelling sparks a different truth.
I can see that. So, essentially, these contradictions are not errors, but deliberate editorial choices, or at least natural outcomes, that reflect the struggles and aspirations of early communities.
Exactly. They're not simply mistakes, but, intentional reflections of different emphases, one spiritual, the other social. It's like each sermon is a mirror, reflecting back not only the voice of Jesus, but also the voices of those who carried his story forward.
Right, definitely. And if that's the case, then the Jesus we know is always evolving, always reframed by whoever seeks his story. That's both humbling and, frankly, quite radical.
Yes. It's a reminder that history, especially religious history, is often more fluid than we think. It's like, two different tapestries woven from the same threads, each colored by different cultural and social needs.
I love that imagery. A tapestry that reflects diversity, yet stands as a singular legacy. But don't you think that sometimes the sharp, almost biting nature of Luke's account might overshadow the deeper, long-lasting ethical teachings found in Matthew?
That's a fair critique. Indeed, Luke's direct approach can come off as, overly confrontational, especially if one is looking for comfort rather than challenge. Yet that confrontation is arguably necessary to spark real change in a society steeped in injustice.
I'd agree with that. It's almost like a debate on whether to inspire gradual internal moral growth or to provoke immediate external action against social inequities.
Precisely. And the answer isn't clear-cut. It depends on which aspects of Jesus' legacy resonate more with a particular audience. One sermon calls us to introspection and spiritual elevation, whereas the other demands we confront and, if needed, dismantle oppressive structures.
Yep, absolutely. So, in the end, these two sermons, with all their contradictions, invite us to reflect on the nature of interpretation and memory. They remind us that history can be as much about who we are as about what actually happened.
Exactly. And whether you lean towards the mountain's majesty or the plain's raw reality, both images challenge us to engage deeply with the text and with, ourselves in our ongoing search for truth.
Truly thought-provoking. Thanks for this engaging exploration. It really makes you think about the layered narratives in the scriptures and, the enduring impact of those stories on our understanding of morality and justice.
It does indeed. And as we continue to revisit these ancient narratives, they continuously remind us that the voices that echo through time are as much ours as they are theirs.
Well said. Until next time, keep reflecting and questioning, because that's where the real answers lie.